Hi accounting students, it's Mrs. Bloomquist and I want to welcome you back to Chapter 9. Remember, we have transitioned from all of the work we were doing in Chapters 1 through 8 that we're dealing with a sole proprietorship, and now we're looking at accounting for a merchandising business that's organized as a corporation. So we've changed a little bit what we're focusing on. Chapter 9 is accounting for purchases and cash payments, and lesson 2 is accounting for merchandise purchases within the lesson that we're going to be looking at. So one of the things we want to touch base on is that in part 1 we looked at journal entries, and we just want to make sure that we're always thinking about, as a business becomes more complex, we need to add additional journals so that the business can operate and be efficient. And just know that because the business is getting more complicated, there's more going on, there's more journals, there's more information to keep track of. So what are the learning objectives for lesson 2? First of all, we want to describe accounting procedures used in ordering merchandise. We want to go ahead and discuss the purpose of a special journal, and we want to journalize purchases of merchandise on account using a purchases journal. So at this point, what I want to do is have you at least open up your book, page 249, 250, 251, and note that, again, we have quite a few new of those vocabulary words that are highlighted, and I'm hoping that you can just take a moment to pause and look over those vocabulary words so that you at least have a good sense of some of the new things that you're going to be seeing in this chapter. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you did all pause to at least review some of the vocabulary. I want to make sure that we at least touch base on the idea that there is a difference between purchases and supplies in a business. Purchases are things that are purchased for resale or merchandise. So a purchase means acquisition, and we purchase something for resale. Supplies, these are not recorded in purchases. Only goods that are purchased for resale, only merchandise is going to go in our purchases journal. Everything else that we're thinking about if something is bought, then that indicates that it's an acquisition of supplies. So we just want to make sure that we're kind of clear on the terminology that we're going to be seeing going forward. So measuring inventory, once you start to have merchandise that you're looking to resell, you want to be aware that the list of the assets that you own that have value, that's your inventory. Okay, and the inventory that you have on hand that is the stuff you're going to sell, that's your merchandise inventory. There are two ways that businesses keep track of their inventory. One is perpetual inventory, and perpetual just means that it's a continuous record of how much you have on hand of every item in your inventory. So you keep it updated in real time, you always know exactly what you have. The other inventory method is actually called periodic, and periodic inventory happens when you only evaluate your merchandise inventory at the end of a fiscal period. And if you're doing a periodic inventory, then you are, excuse me, I had to swallow, I was going to cough up a lung. You are actually going through some kind of physical inventory to count the merchandise that you have on hand at the end of that fiscal period. Sometimes you'll notice you'll go into a store like Kohl's and they'll have little signs up that say inventory in progress, and you might see little signs within the store that are telling you that they're actually doing a physical count of things to actually check the actual inventory that they have in their store. All right, cost of goods sold. You want to make sure that you're aware that businesses keep track of the goods that it purchases to sell, and that they keep track of how much they pay for things as the cost of goods sold. Now, when merchandise is ordered, businesses frequently have a form that's called a requisition form. Okay? Now, a form requesting that a vendor sell merchandise to a business is called a purchase order. Okay, so the internal form requesting that merchandise be purchased, that's a requisition, and the thing that a form requesting a vendor is going to sell something, that's a purchase order. So when we look at a purchase order here, you can see there's all kinds of information contained on here. Whoops, I didn't mean to quite go so fast. It has a PO number, that's the purchase order number. So oftentimes we hear things, a purchase order referred to as a PO. We can see who we're purchasing the item from, the merchandise from, and it looks like we're ordering some compact fluorescent light bulbs that are 50 watters and 100 watters, and you can see that the pricing is also listed. All right, now on we go to special journals. One thing that you want to keep in mind is that because businesses are more complex if they're a corporation or if you're talking about a merchandising type business, they just have more going on. And so they need to have some journals that we call special journals to record only one kind of transaction because it helps to maintain efficiency. Okay, so there are 5 journals that we characterize as special journals that are pretty important. There's the purchases journal. Again, all purchases of merchandise that we make on account. Cash payments journal, that's all of the cash payments that are happening within the business. Sales journal, so for all sales of merchandise on account. Cash receipts for when we get cash in. And the general journal then is for all other transactions. So you can see that we have several that would be new to us for what we're doing here. So the purchases journal. A transaction in which items purchased are to be paid for later is called purchase on account. So remember, when we're doing things on account, the money is following after the fact. On account means no money has changed hands at this point in time. The purchases journal is a special journal that's used to record only purchases of merchandise on account. Only things that are on account. So then a journal amount column headed with the account title is called a special amount column. You'll see why that's important in just a minute. So we're looking at this purchases journal. Whoops, sorry, I went too fast again because I'm telling you, click, click, click. You're looking at the purchases journal right here, and you're seeing where we would enter the date, the amount that's credited, the purchase number, and the post reference. All right, so a purchase invoice, this is the invoice that's used as the source document for recording the purchase on account transaction. Okay, that's the purchase invoice. The terms of sale, that's the agreement between the buyer and the seller that is telling you, hey, when does the money have to change hands? And then finally, due date, right? We have to pay our invoices, and so we're always given a date that the money has to be paid by. So when we're looking at this invoice, what we're seeing here is that there's a lot of information. First of all, whenever a purchase invoice is received, you want to record the initials of the person that received the invoice. So when they received it is noted on here, and then the purchase invoice number is also on the stamp. So you can see it's received by ACL on 11/6, and it's document 525, so that you have some record within your business about when this information was received. You want to go ahead and put a check mark next to all of the totals just to confirm, hey, yes, we actually did get all the stuff we were supposed to get on this invoice. You want to review then the vendor's terms for the payment. This one looks like it's terms N30 and the due date listed. Okay, so N30 means net in 30 days and that the payment is due by 12/4. All right, purchasing merchandise on account. So we're looking at a transaction here. We purchased merchandise from Win Lighting, and the invoice is $525. Okay, right? From Win Lighting for $1,082.50, and it was from Win Lighting. So you can see our purchases journal is going to go up, right? And our accounts payable is going to go up. So we're going to go ahead and debit our purchases journal, and we're going to credit our accounts payable. In our purchases journal, we'd write the date in, the vendor, the invoice number for our purchase, and then the amount in the special amount column. All right, so let's do the audit your understanding piece here, right? Let's go ahead and make sure we can answer the questions. What's the difference between periodic inventory and perpetual inventory? This one's easy, right? We think about when it's happening. Perpetual inventory system is used, when that's used, in what account are purchases recorded, right? That would be in the merchandise inventory account. And in the periodic inventory system, then we're going to record our purchases in the purchases account. Okay, so identify 4 special journals typically used by a business. The 4 that are special would be the purchases journal, cash payments journal, sales journal, and cash receipts journal. Everything else goes then in the general journal. All right, how are special amount columns used in a journal? How do we use those? Any of those frequently occurring transactions, that's what we put there. Why are there 2 account titles in the account column of a purchases journal? Why are there 2 there? All transactions for purchasing merchandise on account involve a debit to purchases and a credit to accounts payable. Okay, so you can't forget that you're going to be doing a debit to purchases and a credit to accounts payable. The advantage of having a special account column in a journal, why is that so special? It eliminates writing the general ledger account titles, and it saves time and helps reduce the number of mistakes you make, which is really important. Finally, what information is contained on a purchase invoice? Vendor name is going to be there, their address, the date, the quantity of items you're ordering, the description of all the items, the purchase, and the total amount of the purchase. So the whole kit and caboodle is going to be there. Now, one thing that you want to make sure that you pay attention to would be the terms of a sale, and that's going to be listed on the invoice as well. And if you want additional details about the purchase information, you should look on page 252 in the highlighted section, Terms of the Sale. All right, so from here, you want to go ahead and do the work together and on your own for lesson 2 for chapter 9. Good luck, everyone.